2015. Hard to believe it's been 10 years already. What was happening in the world a mere decade ago? Let's take a quick trip down memory lane, shall we? The Seattle Seahawks gift-wrapped Tom Brady a Super Bowl by not running the ball at the 1-yard line. Sam Smith is still putting out good music instead of whatever this is. Donald Trump is jokingly running for president, but gaining some steam. That surely won't go anywhere.
I'm gonna come.
James Corden becomes the host of The Late Night Show, marking the worst thing that has ever happened on live television. Hamilton is released, marking the start of theater kids becoming the most annoying group of people before 2020 anime fans took the claim.
If I can prove that I never touched my ball.
Harper Lee's Go Set a Watchman is released, a pre-alpha build of the most overrated book of all time. And you, dear viewer, were at home, experiencing none of this because you were eagerly awaiting the next episode of Monster Musume, witnessing how one show managed to give an entire generation a fixation on monster girls. Stepping out of the time machine, let's focus in more on what anime was like 10 years ago. While it does feel almost ancient considering how fast time moves, this was a year a ton of popular anime got their start. One Punch Man and Death Parade had taken the weebs by storm. Both of them are still thought of fondly to this day, with the former still ongoing. And if anime alone isn't enough to get your attention, we were introduced to some incredibly iconic characters that are still recognizable. Rory Mercury from Gate made her first appearance, Koro-sensei from Assassination Classroom, even Hestia from Danmachi and the lesbians from Euphonium got their start in this year. But everybody is pretty much aware of the heavy hitters from back then. Even looking through the top 50 page on IMDb, there are a ton of names that you could pick out that people would probably remember pretty well. Shimonetta, as wild as it was, is still brought up from time to time. Blood Blockade Battlefront was able to launch an entire genre of parodies just off of the ending theme and animation that has still gotten new versions in the last few years. What I want to talk about today is the stuff you might not remember, shows you forgot you even watched, or just shows I think deserved a little more attention than what they received. And while I don't promise this list is full of fantastic, must-watch hidden gems, I'd say there might be a little of something for everyone. While everyone these days gets their recommendations from social media and only wanting you to watch what's popular, allow me to take you back to the days where you hit an anime randomizer button on your totally legal streaming site and let fate decide what you were watching next. School Live is a strange show. Yes, in terms of subject matter, but it seemed so popular when it aired, yet I have hardly seen anybody bring it up in recent years. Honestly, I haven't even thought about it much before making this list. It's pretty likely that you watched this show when it was airing, or at the very least recognize it to some degree. It had a Madoka Magica approach, appearing very cutesy to lure you in, only for the true plot to reveal itself later on. Don't let the bright colors and cute girls fool you. School Live follows the life of Yuki Takiya, a very bubbly girl who's living every day of her school life to the fullest. She's eager to spend her time with club members and the other students of her school, though as time goes on, it's revealed that this school isn't very alive at all. In fact, the world Yuki is interacting with is nothing more than a delusion. In reality, the world has ended. Unable to accept the fact that the dead have risen and began feasting on the classmates she thought she was spending every day with, she began playing pretend, acting as though everything was just as it was before the apocalypse. And while her friends do play into this, not wanting to break her down and risk Yuki getting herself killed as a result of accepting reality, at some point, she really has no choice. Sooner or later, this game of make-believe begins to put everybody at risk. One thing I've noticed in anime is the distinct lack of a true zombie genre. There are anime that focus on the dead coming to life, such as Mob 100, or even High School of the Dead. Though it is far from perfect, and I can name several things I don't care for right off the bat about what I would change, School Live has an idea that it works with, and I think the slow burn of Yuki's realization is done fairly well. There's a twist pertaining to one of the characters that is one of the first things I think about when it comes to this show, something I won't mention, but is also fairly obvious when you get to it. I know that the zombie craze has come and gone in television, and I know I'm probably in the minority of people who think that there's untapped potential when it comes to zombie anime, but I'm hoping for more in the future. As for School Live, even if it burned twice as bright for only half as long, I hope that it hasn't been completely wiped from the viewers' minds. And if I'm wrong, and School Live has silently been waiting in the masses' brains just waiting to be activated again, then even better. From a show that a lot of people seem to forget by accident, I think this is one that people wanted to forget. Haruhi Suzumiya seems to be a hot topic on social media right now. It's one of the most influential shows of its time, and its influence is still seen in shows to this day. It has its fingerprints on everything from Steins Gate to Love is War. No matter how brutal the Endless Eight was, there's no denying the grasp this show has on the industry. So when it was announced that a new Haruhi series was being produced, 5 years following the incredible disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya film, I was excited. I've never been much of a manga or light novel guy, so I didn't have any idea what I was in for. But I loved the alternate world Nagato. Knowing she'd get her own spin-off was music to my ears. But then the show came out, and it was just, well, it wasn't Haruhi. I mean, literally, it wasn't Haruhi. The animation studio was no longer Kyoto Animation, but Statelight, a studio whose most iconic moment was... And I guess they also did Fairy Tail, but nobody really cares about that. Anyway, the show isn't bad on its own. At least I think it isn't. The color is so washed, I might have just missed what was actually happening. When shows get spin-offs and they're done right, they usually retain or expand upon what made the subject matter so great in the first place. I didn't expect the show to be what Better Call Saul was to Breaking Bad, but I expected the characters to at least be similar to who they were. In the melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, Kyon has a chemistry with all of the surrounding characters, but in this show, he barely has chemistry with Nagato. And it's because we're not getting the Kyon from the movie, who has all of his past memories and character development. We're getting a Kyon who has had that rather ordinary life he wanted at the beginning of the original series. It sucks that, to date, this is the latest piece of Haruhi Suzumiya we've gotten animated. It's almost like what I feel happened with Soul Eater, and Soul Eater Not. They put out a new spin-off to gauge interest, nobody really cared, and they tossed their hands in the air thinking fans didn't want any more. It's not that we didn't want more, we just didn't want that. I wish the disappearance of Yuki Nagato was a little better, or at least animated by Kyoto Animation. Hell, they had all the original voice actors back, but the magic just wasn't there. I'm hoping there's more in the near future for Haruhi, but as it stands, the masses will just keep pretending that this one never existed. If there was a tier list of forgotten 13-episode romance animes from over the years, Actually I Am would have to be one of the best ones for me. Fitting with the Monster Girl craze that was going on at the time, Actually I Am was the lesser known of the two airing in 2015, with the other of course being the more raunchy Monster Musume. The premise is that of a blabbermouth by the name of Asahi Kuromine discovering his crush is actually a vampire. Though he swears to keep her secret safe, it's soon revealed that she is far from the only monster attending this school. Whereas most harems have girls that kind of have a trope and stick to only that trope, Actually I Am really makes their cast feel unique. They're goofy, and they're pretty stupid, but that's just fine. Not every show needs to have some thought-provoking, cynical themes in order for you to enjoy yourself. It isn't a bad thing to just turn your brain off and enjoy something like this. I'd go into a little further of why I like this show so much, but I think that's a topic deserving of its own video. But, so I'm not leaving you hanging, I'll leave you with this. Actually I Am does what few of these short harems can't. They make you care about the girls that you know are going to lose. One thing I can't stand about the genre is when you clearly know who's going to win in the end, but they sort of forget to make the rest of the girls, interesting. Actually I Am does a good job of knowing where it's going, but still making dynamics and drama work out, even if the main point of this show is pretty much telling you the endgame. And from a show that's pretty obvious with the story it's telling, we go to one much shorter and much heavier. One year prior, Teddy Lloyd and Dalco provided the soundtrack to an animation known as Me, Me, Me. In 2015, we received the lesser-known prequel, Girl. It might be a hot take, but I don't care. I prefer the visual storytelling in Girl over that of Me, Me, Me. I had a video on this channel from a few years back that dissected the story of both animations in depth before it was struck down by copyright, which might mean it's due for a remaster. But whereas Me, Me, Me was the story of the man's perspective of the vicious cycle of addiction, Girl tells the story of the opposite side, focusing on escapism. Like its predecessor, there is a large amount of sexual imagery. but using such to also tell a story of a girl's boredom and isolation, only to be pulled from one vice to another upon meeting a man she soon obsesses over. What I adore the most about Girl is just how colorful the world is around the protagonist, living in this space where she's meant to be just as bright and lively as the people she's sexualized by, but her face remains unchanged. It isn't until she's forced to witness firsthand what a healthy and loving couple look like that she has to face what she can't have, no matter how much she craves it. There is much more to this story than one small section in a compilation video ever could hope to accomplish. Girl isn't an unknown anime, but it certainly lacked the staying power that Mimi had, even to this day. The dance from Mimi was hijacked by TikTok and renamed into the 02 dance, not only cutting down the legacy of the original, but pasting it onto Trigger's worst anime. These shows at the time of airing had plenty of eyes on them. There were just ones that were bigger and better. It isn't a bad thing that they weren't able to stand up to them. Sometimes, even if they deserve more recognition, shows just aren't received well, for one reason or another. Girl itself might be a good example. Probably a better product, but you can't always catch lightning in a bottle. Sometimes, even the best things will be nothing more than a memory you can't dig up until reminded. Not all shows can stand up to the test of time. Very few often do. It's what makes those that can stand out all the more special when they still hold up years down the line. 2015 was a pretty solid year for anime, and it's no surprise that some of these, no matter my opinions on them, were seemingly left to be seasonal anime that some enjoyed, then tossed aside. If you like this style of video, be sure to let me know. I wouldn't mind looking back in time for some shows that many have forgotten about, or maybe even some shows that helped define an anime season. It's interesting to look back on what was coming out, then focusing on what we idolize or what we look down on. There are definitely times when a show is popular and you can tell it'll be one that's talked about for years to come, or one that's confusing as to how it ever got popular in the first place. Regardless, I appreciate it if you've made it this far. Be sure to like and subscribe, and follow the social media links down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.